Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Welcome back to Bears Focus, the only place where we ride for the Chicago Bears through the chaos, the heartbreak, and yes, the moments of pure electric brilliance like the one we are about to break down today. If you are new here, buckle up because this channel does not do boring. And if you have been rocking with us for a while, you already know when Ben Johnson is doing something that doesn't make sense to the outside world, that is exactly when we need to lean in the closest because 9 times out of 10, that man is 3 moves ahead of everybody else in the room. And today we have a story that is going to blow your mind a little bit. We are talking about undrafted free agents, a tight end pipeline straight out of Iowa that keeps producing NFL talent like it has a factory hidden underneath Kinnick Stadium, a South African-born defensive tackle nicknamed the Vanilla Gorilla who is already making noise at rookie minicamp, and the single most exciting tight end room that this franchise has put together in maybe a generation. If that sentence alone did not make you want to keep watching, I genuinely do not know what to tell you. Let's get into it. Let's start with the headline that has the entire Bears fan base buzzing right now. His name is Hayden Large, 6'4", 250 pounds, out of the University of Iowa. He was not drafted. He did not get his name called on any of the 3 days of the 2026 NFL Draft. But here's the twist that makes this story something special. Ben Johnson called this kid before the draft even happened. Not after. Before. He picked up the phone, dialed Hayden Large, and told him directly that he had a vision for him, a plan, a role in the NFL before a single pick had been made. Think about what that means for a second. Think about how unusual that is. Head coaches of NFL teams do not make pre-draft phone calls to every guy they have a soft spot for. That is not how it works. Time is the most precious currency in the NFL offseason, and Ben Johnson chose to spend some of his making sure Hayden Large knew that Chicago wanted him. That is not a coincidence. That is a statement. And here is what makes it even better. When the Bears went ahead and used their 3rd-round pick on Stanford tight end Sam Roush, most people assumed that would close the door on Large coming to Chicago. You take a tight end in the 3rd round, you already have Cole Kmet on the roster, and you have 1st-round pick Colston Loveland locked in. Why would you also want an undrafted guy at the same position? Johnson himself admitted that exact fear. He said, quote, "When you take a tight end in the 3rd round, you are kind of thinking, shoot, that might take us away from Hayden coming here." But Large did not bat an eye. Chicago is where he wanted to be. He did not waver. He did not explore other options with teams that might offer him a cleaner path to a roster spot. He wanted the Bears, because the Bears had a coach who believed in him and had told him so personally. And Johnson's response to that? He said, "To me, that speaks volumes about how he is wired. I think we got a good one." Now, before we go any deeper on Large, we need to set the stage for why the tight end room in Chicago right now is something that should have every Bears fan genuinely excited. We live in an era of NFL football where the old playbook is getting shredded. Defensive coordinators have started deploying these hybrid safety players, guys like Derwin James in his prime, guys who have the size and physicality to blitz and stop the run like a linebacker, but also have the speed and awareness to cover slot receivers like a nickel corner. For years, offenses struggled to find a clean answer to that problem. Ben Johnson has found one. His answer is to put multiple big, athletic, versatile tight ends on the field at the same time. Not 1, not 2, sometimes 3. You want to play a hybrid safety on us? Great. We are going to put a 6'5" athletic freak out wide and make you choose your poison. You cannot have it both ways when the offense is that loaded. The Bears ran 2 and 3 tight end formations at the 2nd highest rate in the entire NFL last season under Johnson. That is not a fluke. That is a philosophy. That is an identity. And that identity requires depth at tight end that goes beyond what most teams carry. You need your star, you need your complement, you need your grinder, and if you can find your 4th guy who brings something unique to the table, you have yourself a weapon that coordinators around the league genuinely lose sleep over. Right now, the Bears have Colston Loveland, the 1st-round pick who arrived with enormous expectations and has done nothing to diminish them. They have Cole Kmet, who quietly became one of the better receiving tight ends in the league, making enormous catches against Philadelphia and Los Angeles in moments that mattered. And now they have Sam Roush, the third-round pick out of Stanford, a 6-foot 6-inch specimen who ran a 4.740 and who showed up to rookie minicamp and immediately started making people's jaws drop. Mark Carman reported that both Roush and Large looked good catching the football and that Roush's size was standing out even among other rookies who are themselves exceptional athletes. Trent Dilfer, who coached Roush in high school, put it plainly in a recent interview: "People are badly overlooking how good of a player Sam Roush is." He said the pass-catching ability has always been there and that a difficult situation at Stanford nearly hid it from the rest of the league. Nearly. But not from Ben Johnson. Dilfer's assessment was pointed. He suggested that Roush might not just be a replacement for Cole Smythe, who the Bears lost in free agency. He might actually be another Cole Kmet. Let that land for a moment. The Bears could have two Cole Kmet-level tight ends on their roster, two receiving weapons at the tight end position who can also block, create matchup problems, and play in multiple formations. That is not a tight end room. That is a tight end army. And Hayden Large is the soldier they are building to do the dirty work that holds the whole operation together. So what exactly does Hayden Large bring to that room? The easy answer is that he is a blocker. A nasty, relentless, plays to the whistle, technically excellent blocker. At Iowa, he was used as a tight end and fullback hybrid, which is exactly the kind of versatility that an offense running multiple personnel groupings needs. When you line up in 13 personnel with 3 tight ends on the field, you need at least one of those guys to be absolutely lethal in the run game. You need someone who eats defensive linemen for breakfast, who pancakes linebackers as a matter of routine, and who does not quit on a block when the play extends beyond what was drawn up. That is Hayden Large. His college statistics tell you almost nothing about his actual value. 14 career catches at Iowa, 8 in 2025, 52 receiving yards on the season. On paper, that looks like a backup fullback with blocking duties and not much else. But that framing completely misses the point. Iowa does not run a scheme that features the tight end as a pass catcher. Iowa runs power football. Iowa runs the ball and controls the line of scrimmage and wears defenses down. And in that system, Hayden Large was exceptional. He was not just doing the dirty work. He was doing it at an elite level, consistently every single snap, with the kind of commitment that coaches at every level of football lose their minds over. And then there is the other part of his story that makes you root for this kid in a way that goes beyond X's and O's. Hayden Large was a walk-on at Iowa. He showed up without a scholarship, without a guarantee, without anything except his own belief that he was good enough to earn playing time at one of the better programs in the Big Ten, and he did it. He earned his spot. He earned his playing time. He earned his starting role. He went from a walk-on who had to fight for everything to a player receiving a pre-draft phone call from an NFL head coach who told him directly that he had a vision for him. That is not a football story. That is a life story. That is the kind of thing that reminds you why sports matter. And let's not gloss over the Iowa to Chicago pipeline that has been forming here, because it is genuinely remarkable. George Kittle came out of Iowa. TJ Hawkinson came out of Iowa. Noah Fant came out of Iowa. And then Sam Laporta came out of Iowa and went to Detroit, where Ben Johnson was the offensive coordinator, and Laporta exploded in his rookie season for 10 touchdowns in Johnson's system, despite catching only 1 touchdown in his entire final college season. 1. And then Johnson unlocked him. He saw something in Laporta that others missed, the same way Kyle Shanahan saw something in Kittle that others missed, and the same way Johnson is now looking at Hayden Large and seeing potential that the rest of the league is sleeping on. Iowa keeps producing tight ends who flourish in the NFL because they teach the fundamentals at a level that most college programs do not match. Route running, blocking technique, finishing, running after the catch, playing with your eyes and not just your feet. And Ben Johnson has now made it abundantly clear that he knows exactly where to go fishing when he needs a tight end who knows how to play the position the right way. Now let's shift gears and talk about a player who has nothing to do with Iowa, but who is generating a different kind of excitement among Bears fans right now. His name is Jordan Vandenberg. And before you say anything, yes, this is the player whose story sounds like it was written by a Hollywood screenwriter who was told to make it as colorful as possible. Born and raised in Johannesburg, South Africa, grew up playing rugby and cricket, moved to the United States at 10 years old, picked up football as a high school sophomore, and was still good enough to earn first-team All-State honors as a linebacker by his senior year. His grandfather, Francois Vandenberg, was a bodybuilder who made the finals of the Mr. Universe competition twice, once in 1966 and once in 1967, the same year the competition was won by a then unknown Austrian named Arnold Schwarzenegger. The athleticism in this family runs deep. His grandmother, Joan Rauchi, broke national swimming records in South Africa. This is not a family that produces average athletes, and Jordan Vandenberg has not been an average athlete at any stop on his journey. Iowa Western Community College, Penn State, Georgia Tech, 6 college seasons, 54 games, 93 career tackles, 20 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, 3 fumble recoveries, 2 forced fumbles. And his best season came last year with the Yellow Jackets, where he led his entire team in tackles for loss and finished tied for the national lead among Power 4 defensive tackles in that category. He also recorded a perfect RAS score of 10.0. For those unfamiliar, the relative athletic score is a metric that measures how athletically freakish a prospect is compared to every other player at their position in the history of the NFL draft database. A perfect 10 means he tested better than essentially every defensive tackle in recent history. The movement skills, the explosion, the speed to chase down plays and slice through gaps. He has all of it, and yet somehow, he was not invited to the NFL Combine. The scouting community essentially missed on him until the tape started getting watched more carefully, and when it did, the reaction was immediate. Dennis Allen, Chicago's defensive coordinator, described what happened when the Bears' scouting staff brought Vandenberg to his attention. They came to him and said, "Do me this favor, watch this 60-play cut-up I made," and Allen watched it, and he described seeing movement skills, power, athleticism, effort, toughness, and what he called football character bleeding off the tape. He said, quote, "This is a guy who really fits what we want to do. He is a guy that fits their DNA." The Bears traded up in the 6th round to make sure they got him, sending 2 7th-round picks to the Buffalo Bills just to move up and grab Vandenberg at pick 213. In a draft where every pick matters, Ryan Poles decided that this particular player was worth paying extra to acquire, and then he showed up to rookie minicamp. And the buzz started almost immediately. 6'3", 310 pounds, with the quickness off the snap of a defensive end. He is a one-gap penetrator who can get up the field in a hurry, and the way he finishes plays with his hands suggests that the Bears coaching staff is going to have a lot of fun developing him. He is already being lined up to learn from Grady Jarrett, the veteran defensive tackle who joined the Bears last season. Vandenberg actually grew up watching Jarrett play for the Falcons because his Georgia Tech defensive line coach, Jess Simpson, had previously coached Jarrett in Atlanta and used his teaching tape as a reference point. Vandenberg knows exactly what Jarrett's game looks like at the highest level, and now they are teammates. Now Vandenberg gets to learn directly from one of the players he was studying tape of in college. The nickname is going to be inevitable, by the way, the Vanilla Gorilla. You have a 6'3", 310-pound defensive tackle from South Africa with a perfect athletic score whose grandfather nearly won Mr. Universe. The nickname writes itself, and the Bears fan base has already embraced it completely. At this point, you are not just rooting for a football player, you are rooting for a character, a story, an origin that you could not have invented if you tried. But let us zoom back out and look at what is actually being constructed here in Lake Forest, because the individual stories are thrilling, but the bigger picture is what should have Bears fans genuinely believing that something special is taking shape. Ben Johnson came to Chicago with a reputation as one of the most creative offensive minds in the modern NFL. What he has done in his first full offseason building his own roster from scratch suggests that his vision extends well beyond just the offensive side of the ball. He is building a team with a specific identity, physical, versatile, deep, filled with players who love football, who work, who finish, who accept roles without ego, and execute them to a level that makes life miserable for opposing defenses. Look at the tight end room one more time. Colston Loveland in the first round, Cole Kmet as the veteran anchor. Sam Roush in the 3rd round, a player whose former high school coach is already going on the record saying, The league is going to feel embarrassed for undervaluing him. And then Hayden Large, the walk-on from Iowa, who got a phone call from the head coach of an NFL franchise before he was even drafted, because that head coach saw something in the tape, something in the character, something in the work ethic that he knew he could use. Think about how Scotty Miller fits into all of this too. He shined at rookie minicamp, and the Bears rewarded him with a signing immediately after. This is a front office and a coaching staff that moves with decisiveness. They know what they want. They identify it early. They secure it before the competition even realizes what they have missed. That is the Johnson Poles approach in action, and it is working. The wide receiver room is rounding out. The tight end room is becoming one of the most dangerous in the conference. The defensive line is adding an athletic freak from South Africa who plays with the motor of a man who has something to prove every single snap. The practice squad is going to be loaded with players who have NFL caliber talent but simply ran out of roster spots. That kind of depth is what separates teams that compete from teams that contend. When injuries happen, and they always happen, the Bears are going to be able to plug in quality players from a pool that most teams simply do not have access to. There is a version of this roster that 12 months from now we look back on and talk about the moment things clicked. The moment Ben Johnson found his fourth tight end in an Iowa walk-on who he believed in before the draft. The moment Ryan Poles traded up in the 6th round to grab an athletic freak from South Africa whose grandfather almost won Mr. Universe. The moment Scotty Miller showed up to minicamp and dared the coaches not to sign him. These are the kinds of moves that do not show up on ESPN's power rankings in May. They show up in November when teams are grinding through the schedule, and suddenly you realize that the Bears are not just good at the skill positions, they are deep everywhere, and they are relentless at every level of the roster. Hayden Large is going to face an uphill battle to make that 53-man roster. Let's be honest about that. With Loveland, Kmet, and Roush essentially guaranteed their spots, the fourth tight end position is a genuine competition. He will be going up against Nikola Kalanick and Steven Carlson, among others. But the fact that the head coach personally called him, the fact that Johnson looked the media in the eye and said he had a vision for him, the fact that Large showed up to Chicago, not when the 3rd-round pick scared him off, but because this is exactly where he wanted to be. These are not small things. These are the kinds of signals that tend to predict outcomes in the NFL. If Ben Johnson has a plan, and he clearly does, then the smart money is on Hayden Large being part of this team when the regular season begins. And for Jordan Vandenberg, the ceiling is genuinely thrilling. His technique needs work. Johnson and Allen have been honest about that. There are things he still has to develop, areas where the rawness of his conversion from other positions shows up in ways that a veteran defensive lineman would not display. But the physical tools are extraordinary. The effort is undeniable. The football character, to use Dennis Allen's phrase, bleeds off the tape. The Bears did not trade up in the 6th round to find a practice squad player. They traded up because they think they found a starter. Maybe not in week 1 of the 2026 season, but eventually, and potentially sooner than anyone outside of Hollis Hall expects. This is what it looks like when a franchise is being built the right way. Not just with splashy free agent signings and high draft picks and names that generate clicks on social media, but with the phone calls that happen in February, with the 60-play cut-ups that defensive coordinators watch on quiet Saturday afternoons, with the walk-ons who become starters and then earn the attention of NFL head coaches who see the character behind the statistics. This is Chicago Bears football under Ben Johnson, and it is only just beginning. Bear down, Chicago. The foundation is being poured. And the building they are constructing is going to be something worth watching every single week. If you enjoyed this video, do us a favor and hit that like button right now. It takes 2 seconds and it helps this channel more than you know. If you are not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a Bears breakdown. And down in the comments, we want to hear from you. Do you think Hayden Large makes the 53-man roster? Do you think the Vanilla Gorilla becomes a starter? Drop your takes below. Let's have the conversation. We are Bears Focus. We will be back tomorrow with
Hey everyone,
more Bear
I'm working
Down.
to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.